Do you hear what I hear? Do you hear what I hear? It's a universal question, and it's also an ancient question, and it's an exceedingly contemporary question. It asks so much of us, doesn't it? Are you feeling what I'm feeling? Am I alone in what I hear? Let's listen to the question. And let's listen to the way that technology is constantly changing the answer. As humans, we listen in groups, and we always have. We used to dwell in caves and sit around the fire. And likely, we listened to a sort of grunting nightly newscast of the events of the day. You know, big thunder, many antelope. Guy next door has new rock. We listen to each other's hopes and our dreams and our experiences and our aspirations and our stories, real or imagined. It was storytelling time because listening is sharing. We shared these things. It went on for a very long time, right? Eons. But then we grew complex. Our stories grew very complex. Time passed and technology arrived. The cave got nicer. We got some indoor plumbing. And we began to sit around and listen to a thing called radio. We listened to the news of the world and the songs of the day, and we listened to the speeches of Winston Churchill. And we kept on listening with technology, amplifying and broadcasting it all. We listened together to teachers, preachers, and fascists and popes. We listened to operas, rock stars. We listened to people try to sell us soap and cigarettes. The fact is, we used to listen to events as events. You know, the speech, the concert, you had to be there. But then we found that we could record and play back, and that's technology. And we found that sound could be openly accessible. We could get it anywhere, anytime, alone or apart. And the radio became the home stereo. And listening got a little less big groupie and got a little more parlor, right? We found that we could actually purchase a song or a sound. Have you heard what I've heard? No? Well, come on over. I'll play it for you. Now, of course, we don't always listen in groups. No. Often, frequently, we listen privately. Private listening. It's a primal thing. Sound is primal. It exists in a pre-language realm, all right? And unlike movies and television and computers, which are always two-dimensional, sound is always three-dimensional. It's around us. It's within us. That phrase, in the beginning was the Word, can be understood as in the beginning was sound, the sound of the Word. Sound was the first thing ever. And this begins for us in a dark, warm, very comfortable place known as the womb. Inside the womb, we begin to hear far before we begin to see. And the first thing that we ever hear is this steady 4/4 pounding known as mother's heartbeat. It's the first and most important sound of our lives, and it stays with us. Have you ever wondered why later in life we go to dark, warm dance clubs on a liquid diet and we kind of bop around to that same 4/4 pounding beat? Yeah, that's technology recreating the best place in the whole world, the womb. And we get together and we gather to listen to it. It's fantastic. Now later, outside of the womb, we discover that sound is truly wonderful. It defines us. It amazes us. It touches us so deeply. Do you remember as a child laying in the back seat of the car on a rainy night, on your way home, falling asleep, your parents' voices very low, talking, the windshield wipers keeping time, and you're listening to the passing cars and the sound of tires on wet pavement. Do you remember the first time you discovered zippers? Wow. We wanted to share that. Mommy, listen to this. The truth is private listening always leads to that need to share. And it's at that age that we begin to ask ourselves, do you hear what I hear? The song, Do You Hear What I Hear, was written in the late 60s, about the time of the Cuban Missile Crisis. About the same time, headphone technology was leaving the battlefield where it had been for decades, and it was beginning to enter the home. Headphones made listening more private, more personal. They cut us off from one another in exchange for a more powerful, private listening experience. Just a decade later, the Walkman arrived, which is a portable listening device, right? And it untethered us from the home stereo. And we were free to walk around the planet, listening privately, slugging these backpacks full of cassettes, remember? Sound attached itself to us, and we began to carry it around. And somehow, private listening became more fashionable than group listening. You recall this? Well, headphones, they were amazing. Total aural immersion, and yet total loneliness. The sound was great, but it was hard to share. We tried to counter that loneliness with something called the mixtape. It was this love letter sound object made up of the sounds and songs that we would offer to others. Here, listen to this. Hear what I hear. Feel what I feel when I listen to this. But technology, our finger is constantly on the fast forward button, right? That Walkman quickly became the CD player, the MP3 player, the iPod, the iPhone, any phone. The backpack full of cassettes collapsed itself into the technology, and the device got smaller, lighter, nearly invisible. That little button called shuffle killed the mixtape. Remember the little segues we used to make, making it just perfect song to song? That vanished in the randomness of streaming arrived. Robots called algorithms began to know us. And not only would they play the songs we wanted to hear, but they would suggest other songs that we might want to hear or even purchase. Yeah. And the cave where we used to listen was suddenly becoming this isolated, private space. And maybe the sound wasn't so good after all. It's kind of thin and tinny and compressed and plastic. It's the fast food of sonic culture, and it's not very nutrient. All right? Private listening has engulfed us, as if the world was too noisy. And now we carry this little eye womb around to keep us sonically safe. All right, I know that the internet and telephone technology probably have us more connected than we ever have been before. I don't argue that. But in our listening, we're so alone. It's so private. We're so isolated. It's sad. And it's getting pretty dark, right? Where are we going with this? Like zombie hordes of earbud slaves. And we're wandering randomly and disconnected. It's an Orwellian nightmare. Dude, it's the end of humanity. Surely it's the end of days. Well, maybe, but maybe not. Technology did not get us into this mess. We did. Our neurotic culture did. And cultures evolve, we hope, and so does the technology, right? Maybe it's not so scary. Listen. Sonic culture is beginning to join with the global network. And group listening and private listening are beginning to merge again. That tinny and tiny earbud is passing away in favor of these new, like fashionably hip and really cool and great sounding headphones. You've seen them. And their days are numbered as well. We have new technology, something known as bone conduction. I love saying bone conduction. I don't know. And what it does is it stimulates the auditory canals using sound waves. And what this does is frees us from headphones. We're listening here instead of here. And that allows us, for the first time ever, to listen normally to our friends at the restaurant, and if we want to, listen to some playback at the same time. It was only a few months ago, the first man implanted little sonic magnets into the fleshy part of his ear here. He doesn't need any headphones at all. iPhone, click, right? There's a new kind of broadcasting known as bluecasting. And this is the use of Bluetooth technology to broadcast locally. If you can imagine going to a library or a restaurant or a cafe or a classroom or a museum or even a dance club. And you can choose to hear music if you want to, bopping around, rocking out, or if you don't want to, click. It is off, and it's not bothering you. Imagine a dance floor full of people and no sound. Right? It's in development. There are prototypes, right? And what is the podcast if not a virtual mixtape, right? It's a playlist, and it's our hopes, our dreams, and what I'm thinking today. Here, download this. Hear what I hear. There's even this thing called the TED Talk, where people gather in caves and listen to this sort of grunting of ideas. It's very popular. Live music is back. It's everywhere. Right now, there are more venues than there ever were before. We're listening as if decades of recorded plastic playback has left us really hungry for live, real, actual sound, right? We're back in the concert hall. It doesn't matter, classical, rock and roll, bluegrass, electronica, yak mating music. We're back in there listening for it. It's very beautiful. Now, myself, I look at youth culture. I look at the millennials, and they're down. They are listening again in groups. They're sharing sound. They call it file sharing. But they're also doing these things. It's a group listening, turntable parties, and noise bands, and online gaming where they can talk to each other while they blow the zombies away, right? And they're forming little subcultures of group listening like this. It's called decibel drag racing. They jack up their cars, and they compete to see how loud each other can be. That's group listening, all right? It's not very good for the ears, but my God, what enthusiasm. Guys, it's not about the technology at all, and it never was. It's our need to share our sounds and our stories. And the technology just supports that, right? We want to share our stuff. And I believe, personally I believe, that the future of sonic culture is actually quite bright. Or to join the millennials, it's awesome, it's sweet, it's sick. And I think that eventually we're all going to hear each other. I'm going to hear what you hear, and you're going to hear what I hear, and together we can celebrate the sounds of our lives. So listen up, listen well. Thank you.